The Chicago Bulls took a loss yesterday versus the Brooklyn Nets. But while we could focus on the game, I want to actually focus on a new Chicago Bull, and that is Rob Dillingham. Is his confidence growing with the Chicago Bulls? We're going to talk about it. And then to end the show, we're going to talk about the 5-game losing streak and if losing will continue to happen in Chicago. Y'all know we're going to talk about it, break it all down, but you got to hear the music first.
Cognac, gang.
Shot Bulls podcast with the Cognac Boys. I'm Cognac Boy Bobby, and I'm holding it down on today's daily episode. So if you're tuned in, ready to talk Bulls basketball, even when they give you a headache, make sure you go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, man. We are that much closer to 10K, and all the continued support has been tremendous from you all. We really appreciate it. But hey, the Chicago Bulls went out there and took a loss versus the Brooklyn Nets. And that is a team that went out there and sat a couple of their best players. And while the Chicago Bulls are still waiting on Josh Giddey and Trey Jones to return to the lineup, we got to see another game with some of our newcomers who show that they can hoop. Will they be a part of the long-term plans? I don't necessarily know what the Bulls are thinking right now. But I do want to talk about one specific guy, and that is Rob Dillingham. Is his confidence growing with the Chicago Bulls? In your opinion, let me know why or why not down below. Or do you simply just believe that it's just too soon to determine that? But I do have my reasons on why I do believe that his confidence, that is Rob Dillingham, that is, and why I believe that his confidence is growing with the Chicago Bulls. Now, this is a guy who I already said it before he came to this team. I was going to give him a blank slate. I did not watch him much while he was over there in Minnesota, and I'm not going to act like I did. If they watch more than me, cool, fine, and dandy. But y'all know me. I like to draw my own conclusions and like to see players for myself with my own 4 eyes. Yeah, I said 4 eyes, but you get the point. But Rob Dillingham was a guy that we looked at in the draft a couple seasons ago, and I thought that he had some game. You know what I mean? And during his time in Minnesota, he did not receive much opportunity, in my personal opinion. You looked at Rob Dillingham, if you go through some of the stats, you only see that the man, for the first 2 seasons of his career, only played 10 minutes a game. And then this season with the Minnesota Timberwolves, he was only playing 9 minutes a game. But since he's came to Chicago, his minutes total has been 22 minutes up until this point. Now, when you talk about Rob Dillingham and consider that there's no Josh Giddey, that there is no Trey Jones, we say, okay, those minutes are kind of expected. But my expectations is to continue to let the young player ball out. Let's see what you have in him. And so far, I believe that confidence is growing. With those 22 minutes, he has been able to take advantage of some of those moments and minutes that he has been given. Has it been something that's going to knock me off my chair right now? No. But I think that it has been impressive, at least well enough to say, hey, this kid might be able to be somebody that could be a part of the Chicago Bulls going into next season. In the game versus the Nuggets, he played 22 minutes, gave the Chicago Bulls 9 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. Last night versus the Nets in 22 minutes, he gave the Chicago Bulls 8 points, 7 rebounds, and 1 assist. And had 2 steals to go along with that. And the 22 minutes per game is the highest of his career thus far. So you got to take that into account. With more opportunity, he's taking advantage of some of those opportunities. And when I look at the basketball game that he comes in and play with, he has some shiftiness. He has a handle with some quickness that he can add on to be able to manipulate a couple things to get himself downhill into the lane and open up things for the others on the basketball court. He can finish. We know that he can find an open man. One thing that I want Rob Dillingham, or at least want to see more out of him, is if he can hit the 3-point shot. it is not the end all be all if a player is not elite at shooting a 3-point shot. But one thing I love to see from a number of players, especially from my guard positions, is a guy that is respectable from the 3-point line. Now, there's no Peter Patton walking through the door for the Chicago Bulls to help guys fix their form and become better 3-point shooters or whatnot, like we've seen a couple of the Chicago Bulls players of years past. So it's going to be on Billy Donovan and his coaching staff to go out there and help this young fella continue to have some continued growth over the season. And then maybe with some work over the offseason, you see him enter with the team as a better 3-point shooter. But again, I do not want to take his what I view as his number one skill, and that's the speed, the quickness with the handle, and the ability to get to the basket. I don't want to take that away from him. But what I want is an inclusion of the 3-point shot when he has an open shot, which will help out his team if Josh Giddey has, if he's lined up and matched up with Josh Giddey on the basketball court, because Billy Donovan is going to play his guards, or if there's a rebound and someone has to kick it out to him and he's at the 3-point line and he's wide open, is he capable of knocking it down? So right now at 25%, that is something I want to go out. I hope that he can improve in, and we'll take a look at that. Defensively, I think it needs a little bit more work too, but as a smaller guard, I don't really expect him to go out there and be a Drew Holiday type or a Marcus Smart when he won Defensive Player of the Year type. I just want him to be competent enough to go out there and be effective on that end of the ball. So I think that this young fella, this young basketball player is growing some confidence, and I hope that he continues to receive opportunities when Josh Giddey, I'm not going to go down that road with saying that the Bulls should shut him down for the remainder of the season, but the Bulls have done crazier things in my lifetime, at least with this iteration of what the front office has looked like. I vividly remember last year the Chicago Bulls rolling, and in the game versus I believe it was the Cleveland Cavaliers prior to a matchup with the Miami Heat, the front office and the coaching staff and the medical staff all came together and said, we're going to sit guys in preparation for the Miami Heat. I do remember that. And everybody was up in arms, including myself, like, what are we doing? So I do remember things like that. And we hope to see if these guys are going to give, like said players like a Rob Dillingham, or continue to give these guys opportunities to go out there and see if they can be a fit for the Chicago Bulls, because we all know, these guys can hoop right now without the number one guy, in my personal opinion, or at least one of the top guys in Josh Giddey. We have to see who lines up well next to Josh Giddey so we can continue to push this thing forward. But in the meantime, in between time, I will say I have been impressed by Rob Dillingham, and I can't wait to see him face off versus the Boston Celtics tomorrow night. Now, to switch on over in another gear and talk about the state of the Chicago Bulls and where we currently line up and how we currently stack up in the Eastern Conference across the NBA, with the way that things are going right now is still a bit questionable. I'll be honest with you. I don't necessarily know if these guys are still leaning into, we want to be the most competitive talk, or are these guys simply embracing a soft tank? But this is how we currently look within the Eastern Conference. The Chicago Bulls are currently 11th in the Eastern Conference. They are one game behind the Charlotte Hornets. The Charlotte Hornets, they just had their 9-game winning streak snapped yesterday after they was throwing bows with the Detroit Pistons. But nonetheless, they've been playing some really good basketball. And if I'm in that, I'll be honest, it might not be the most popular. Honestly, let them take the 10th play-in spot. Not even gonna lie to you. Let them have the 10th play-in spot. We've been in the play-in the last few years, and every single year the Miami Heat has thumped us in the middle of our forehead because we thought that we was about to do something. So allow those teams to go out there, and they can have that. They can try to push themselves into the playoffs. That is not to go out there and say that the Chicago Bulls should completely crap the bed and not try to properly evaluate players or just purposely sit players. But that is to say, we go out there, we take care of business, let guys run up and down the court, play some good basketball, and then you let the Charlotte Hornets have it. That's it. They can go through and put their fans through winning one play-in game, then having to match up with the Miami Heat and getting their ass sent home. I'm tired of that. We need to be trying to get ourselves and embracing something different, at least this time around. And for me, that starts with player development. That's how I'm looking at it. Wins and losses are whatever for me. I'm not gonna apologize for a win, but I'm not gonna be going crazy over losses for the Chicago Bulls right now as it currently stands. That's just me. Call me nonchalant. That's my prerogative. You have your opinion. I have my opinion. I'm gonna feel how I feel. You will feel how you feel. But hey, the Chicago Bulls are currently on this 5-game losing streak. Gotta ask you, should they continue to embrace this tank? Do you believe that more losing is on the way for the Chicago Bulls? I would love to hear you all thoughts on that, because as it currently stands, the Chicago Bulls record-wise, when you compare Eastern Conference teams, when you compare Western Conference teams, they are only ahead of 9 different teams. Those teams includes the Grizzlies, the Dallas Mavs, Utah Jazz, the Pelicans, the Kings, the Bucks, the Nets, the Wizards, and the Pacers. I know it's a lengthy list, but those are the 9 teams who are behind the Chicago Bulls record-wise, or if you want to say the Bulls are ahead of record-wise with 24 wins on the season. And when you break down some of the teams, we got the Utah Jazz going out there competing hard and then telling Jaren Jackson Jr. and Larry Markkinen to take a seat for the entire fourth quarter, completely just letting go games. Then you see the Chicago Bulls take on the Nets yesterday. They didn't have their best player, Michael Porter Jr. He was out for the game, and they still ultimately won, which is, if for my tankers out there, it's a win for the Bulls. It's a win for the Bulls. But the biggest question is, will the Chicago Bulls just continue to focus on the losing, or do we think that it's just these guys that are new to the team, they didn't have much time to come in and properly affected the team because of the high turnover with the team? How do you guys view all of this? How do you guys look at the situation? Do you think that these guys will eventually get it together? Because after Wednesday, they go on a small little break, maybe have more opportunities to practice. Do you believe the Chicago Bulls will come out of the All-Star break gunning for wins? How do you play all of this out? Or do you just believe that these guys are just not talented enough? Maybe it's a guy here or there, maybe one or maybe two, maybe three, maybe all. Who knows? That could potentially stick around as we continue to move forward. How do you see it happening? Because in the next 10 games for the Chicago Bulls, including the one tomorrow, some notable games, not all 10, but some notable games that are going to be on the Chicago Bulls schedule, as these teams who are better than the Chicago Bulls, I'm pretty sure, are going to be fighting for some playoff positioning. Those games include a game versus Boston tomorrow, then Detroit, then the Knicks, the Charlotte Hornets, who's ahead of us in the 10th slot, the Oklahoma City Thunder, who's just flat out I almost said Super Bowl, who's flat out finals ready, the Phoenix Suns, the Portland Trailblazers, and the Toronto Raptors, who currently hold the 5th seed in the Eastern Conference. Those are notable games. How much longer do you anticipate the Chicago Bulls losing? Look, I don't necessarily like it. I don't like a whole bunch of losing streaks to be popping up in front of Chicago. But at the end of the day, we just know this team, if they get in a play-in, they might get waxed. If they get in the playoffs, they're definitely getting waxed. So how should we all be approaching this? That's why, for me, I'm going right back to where I was, unfortunately, last season. Even kill. It's just it. You can't. I gotta see more before I start jumping off the porch and pumping my chest a little bit for the Chicago Bulls. And again, I don't tell people how they should fan for this team, but I just know, for me, my whole entire mindset, like I said like a week ago, is going to be on player evaluation, and that's all I'm going to be really, really focused on. If the wins come, they come. If they don't come, they don't come. But hey, that's what she said. Nonetheless, I'm about to get up out of here, because that is it for me today, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to another episode of Shy Boys Podcast. Before you get up out of here, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell as well, man. We appreciate y'all over here. Always see red, whether you can't, just try. Just try to see red, because a lot of us ain't seeing red right now. But hey, that is it for me. Y'all already know. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one, for sure. Peace.
Cognac. Gang.